Hey guys, it's the Movie Buff Pains, and we are finally here with our Q&A video. I know we've kind of been promising this video for a while, but we're finally sitting down to do it. We want to say thank you to everyone that sent in questions. We got a whole bunch, so we'll try and go through as many as we can, and we were able to sit down and pick some movies to showcase in this video as well. So yeah, thanks so much for sending in your questions.
And thank you guys so much for getting us to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, and as a thank you, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So stay tuned to the end of the video and we'll explain how you guys can enter. We'll go ahead and dive right into your questions. I've got them on my phone here, so we'll go ahead and see what the first one is. We got several questions that were kind of in the vein of this, so I'll read a few of them. Like, what got you into Blu-rays and collecting? Who influenced who more into collecting? So which one of us was a bigger influence? And were we collectors before meeting one another? So we'll go ahead and kind of answer all those questions in one. What got us into Blu-ray collecting?
I had gotten into Blu-rays very recently before meeting you, and I remember, picture was amazing, sound was amazing. When we got together and I helped you get into your dorm, you had a CRT TV and a PS2 for a DVD player.
Yeah, that was my kick-ass setup for college.
I said that wouldn't do, and we went out and got you a flat screen and a Blu-ray player like the next day, or maybe the same day. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, very, very close together, those two things.
And then I bought you your first Blu-ray as well.
So I think kind of us both loving movies, like we've both always loved movies. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that kind of kicked our relationship off. I think that combined with just discovering high definition very late in the game in like 2013.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of that combined kind of just turned into what it is now somehow. Yeah, like he said, he bought me my first Blu-ray, which was The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. Cinematic masterpiece, of course. And then we also bought About Time the day that it came out. And I remember being really excited about like going to the store and picking up new movies on Blu-ray the day they came out. Now, I had a huge DVD collection at the time. I've always collected movies, even when I was very young. I always had like CDs, DVDs, all that, video games, tons of stuff like that, but just didn't have Blu-rays yet. So I was a collector before. I don't know if you were as much. I know you loved movies, but I don't know if you'd consider yourself a collector.
Yeah, most all the movies we had at our place were my parents', though I had started to get a few of my own by that point. But usually a staple for either birthdays or Christmas or whatnot for me was I always usually got at least a few movies because my parents knew I liked them so much. Whereas
I would have like an itemized list of stuff that I would give to my parents, and I'd be like, you can't get this at Walmart, like you have to go to FYE, or like you have to buy this online, there's no way you're gonna find this in town. Like, I was a very annoying child. But yeah, I think we both just kind of fed into each other as far as who was more of an influence in collecting. I think we kind of just fed into the addiction very quickly. And then having a little collection that we were growing together was really fun because, we were just like, oh yeah, like this is my favorite movie and this is my favorite movie. We go out and buy those, and then eventually it turned into trading in our DVDs, or, my DVDs at the time, into like FYE and using the money to buy them on Blu-ray. And that became an addiction of ours, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
Yeah, and just randomly thinking, we actually checked recently, I think we just about have replaced almost all the DVDs we had now. There's only like a handful of movies that we still need to technically upgrade.
I mentioned that in one of my other videos recently, that we have very few titles left on our Blu-ray upgrade list. So yeah, very exciting, but yeah, it just kind of spiraled out of control, as you can see.
Once we were married and had our own place, then we pooled everything we had together. We had like a decent shelf's worth, and then from there we just started gaining more and more, had to get more shelves and whatnot, until we are at the point we are now.
Yeah, and somehow still I will look at like pictures on like Time Hop, or like pictures I posted 4 years ago or whatever, and I can't believe how much it's even grown in just the last few years, because I think there's been a few points in our collecting, especially lately, where we've gone, oh well, we must have everything we want. There's nothing else to get. But boutique labels came in, and now I've got a million more movies to buy.
Yeah,
I don't think the collection will ever be done.
Probably not. For the most mainstream stuff, I mean, it definitely has. It's gotten slower than when we started, because before, at the beginning, we had nothing on Blu-ray, so we bought everything, and now it's gotten to the point where, you know, we get lucky still when we go out Blu-ray hunting, but it definitely has gotten a lot harder and a lot pickier than when we initially started.
Well, nowadays it's like you have to go and find like some obscure title from like Well Go USA or something. Like you're not going and finding like catalog Paramount titles really, like that have been out for years at the store. Like we pretty much own all of that. So
yeah, but yeah, I mean, it just grew exponentially, and it still just keeps going. And I think you're right. Like, I may have introduced you to Blu-rays, but we probably egged each other on a lot at the beginning.
Definitely.
Just constantly just saying, "Ooh, yeah, let's get this.
Yeah, and little did he know he was creating a monster. All right, next question. Hobbies outside of collecting and movies. What are our hobbies outside of collecting and movies?
Outside collecting and movies? Does TV count?
Yeah, that is kind of our main thing in life. We go to work and we watch movies, but we do have some other things.
Every so often I like to read a little, sometimes write a little, but I mean, it definitely isn't as much as I used to do. Movies now.
Yeah, I like to play the drums. I've always been big into music. I played like 4 instruments in high school, but I mostly play the drums now. Sometimes bass guitar, a little piano.
We like playing with our cats.
Yes, cats, if that's a hobby, we love that. It goes like, movies are right here, and then cats are like right here. Mm-hmm. It's very close. Some days movies are here, and cats are here.
Depends on how they're behaving.
Yes, exactly. Not a ton outside of collecting and movies, but
honestly,
it's our favorite thing, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
All right, next question. People want to know who some of our favorite directors are. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Some of my favorite directors, Steven Spielberg. I grew up with his movies so much, and they were just very influential on me. I mean, back then, when I was a kid, his movies were just pure magic, especially like Jurassic Park, E.T., and stuff like that. It was just a marvel to watch on the screen, and I've always loved his films, and still love the films he puts out now too, and it's just always fun to see what he puts out. After Spielberg, another one would be Baz Luhrmann. His movies really just took me on a ride when I started watching those, especially Moulin Rouge. I mean, that one threw me for a loop, but it was so crazy and so over the top and was just a wonderful experience. And of course, I've consumed all the films he's put out. It's not many, but the ones he's done are just fantastic, and I love every one of them.
Yeah, Moulin Rouge is one of the first movies that kind of made me change my mind a little bit about musicals. That's a really fun movie. After
that, I think the only one I can think of right now is Wes Anderson. His movies really, really just hit the spot for me, and I can't even begin to describe. They are so wonderful to watch. The characters are just all over the place. The settings are always so cool. And it's just really interesting storytelling from him too, which is probably what gets me. I love a good story, and his are always so different compared to most mainstream. Yeah, I gotta love the Wes Anderson aesthetic. And funny enough, I saw a picture the other day. It was like our Criterion collection from years ago, and it was like a stack of this many movies, and like 6 of them were Wes Anderson movies. So wow. That was our star in the Criterion collection. I think a lot of people could probably say that. I actually took a couple notes on who I wanted to mention. I've mentioned him on the channel before. Probably my favorite director right now is Denis Villeneuve. I just love everything that he's been putting out. Every time I see one of his movies, I'm just more and more amazed by his directing ability. I mean, Arrival is one of my all-time favorite films, but also Sicario, Incendi, I just watched about a year ago, and I was blown away by that one. Prisoners, the list goes on. He has amazing films, and looking forward to seeing Dune whenever that comes out. Yeah. And then I'd say Dario Argento, just because seeing like Suspiria and Tenebrae and Deep Red, it really kind of changed my perspective on what horror could be. It was kind of my introduction to Italian horror and stuff outside of the norm and mainstream. And David Fincher, he's probably one of my go-to directors. I usually say him because more people know who he is compared to some of these others, but yeah, I love David Fincher. And then I gotta mention a couple female directors, Lynn Shelton, who unfortunately passed away this
last year. It's so sad, but yeah, I love her films. I love like mumblecore movies and indie low budget stuff. So I loved everything she did. And Sofia Coppola, I think watching Lost in Translation the other week kind of just cemented the idea that she's just one of my absolute favorite filmmakers. Love Marie Antoinette, Somewhere, The Beguiled. Just love all of her films. So yeah, that's who I would say. Next question, you guys asked what our favorite Tarantino movie is. Mine would be Inglourious Bastards. Love this movie. I wasn't a huge fan of Pulp Fiction when I first saw it. I probably do need to watch it again, but this one blew me away the first time I watched it, and every time since I love it. It's a great movie.
And mine would actually be Django Unchained. Really do enjoy modern westerns a lot, and this one is just over-the-top violent, and it is phenomenal, especially with Leonardo DiCaprio playing the villain.
Yeah, love that one too. All right, next question. How do you budget so you can buy movies when the sales happen? We don't.
Yeah.
A movie you think should get a 4K release? Thinking on this is kind of a hard question, because I'm honestly usually just happy to see stuff come to Blu-ray, but I was thinking I would like to see more horror movies on 4K. I mean, always happy to see more of that genre there, and I've heard some rumors lately that they might release the Scream films on 4K. So I would love to see that. Even just the first one would be great. Do you have any thoughts on that one, or do you just kind of agree with that?
Yeah, mostly like older films. Like, it's great seeing new films because they are at the standard already and they are amazing picture quality and whatnot, but it is really nice to see older films from even just 10 plus years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because they always need just a little bit of touching up and whatnot, and when you see them in the 4K format, they look amazing when they get restored properly. So definitely some older stuff would be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and kind of going off that, I like when they release like classic films. Like, that's been really cool. Like that Sony Columbia box set, that was amazing. Seeing some of those come to 4K, like Lawrence of Arabia and stuff like that. I would like to see more of that because, quite frankly, there's a lot of classic films that I haven't seen yet, and to watch them on 4K would be a really cool experience, I think. Yeah,
and obviously there's something to be said for stuff that was shot on film because the restoration work just looks phenomenal. There's already a review out for the 10 Commandments, which is coming out on 4K. And they have said it is just beyond beautiful. Yeah, I have heard that. And I mean, that's old film they're working with, and they're saying it's just like a standard for 4K for the look, which is phenomenal. That really speaks to just what can be done. Yeah, but honestly, we're huge supporters of 4K, so pretty much anything they put out, we will get it. Yeah. Oh, and I'm also really excited that like boutique labels have been putting out 4Ks lately. Like, that's been awesome, because I remember when 4K first started, you know, people were asking companies like Scream Factory or Arrow, like, you know, are you going to start releasing on 4K? And I don't know if they said this specifically, but I feel like a lot of smaller labels were saying that it was just way too expensive to replicate them and stuff. So obviously something has changed, because even companies like Synapse and Blue Underground, they're pumping them out. So yeah, that's awesome. They're coming more and more. It took them a few years to get started, but they are starting to catch on to the idea. So yeah, that's always awesome to see. And then kind of similar to that question, someone asked what are some older catalog titles we'd like to see come to Blu-ray. I thought of two. First one would be The Hours. I'm really surprised that this one hasn't gotten a release yet, honestly, which it's Paramount, so it could be coming. Paramount's been putting out a lot of stuff on Blu-ray lately, so that would be awesome. This is a great film with some like fantastic performances. I'd love to see that on Blu-ray. And then my other choice is just a movie I love, and that's The Family Stone. It's not a great movie by any means, but the cast is awesome. It's just kind of a feel-good holiday movie that I love, and I think it's got a pretty good following, so hopefully that will get a release at some point. It's 20th Century Fox, so maybe not as hopeful, but maybe one day. For me, for stuff on DVD that I'd want to see make the jump to Blu-ray, I actually am still really dying for a lot of Disney's catalog titles, because they kind of stopped doing them. They used to put out quite a bit through the Disney Movie Club, and ever since Disney Plus came around, they just seem to stop producing Blu-rays for the club.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's been unfortunate.
It's been really unfortunate. But who knows? Maybe one day that'll change, because they have a number of movies that are on DVD only. Heck, there are some that are only on VHS as far as I know.
True.
But one of the ones at the front of the line for me would definitely be the live-action 101 Dalmatians. I have loved this one since I was a kid, and I would love to see this one get the Blu-ray treatment for sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Especially with that new Cruella movie coming out. Why not?
That is true.
We actually had a few people ask about Supernatural. We don't watch it. I'm sorry, guys.
We just haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes like in high school and I haven't tried since. We have like the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray though, so maybe one day.
TV shows have always been a little daunting, especially even if it's a complete series. Like, that's Supernatural. That's 15 seasons to get through.
Yeah, that's a lot of seasons. How old are you? I'm 26.
I'm 28.
Yep, we're ancient.
Yep.
I'm old!
Do you have a favorite piece or item in your collection? This was a hard question, but the first one that came to mind for me is this Nova Media edition of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Not sure how much I've talked about this maybe on the channel, but this is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time. And thinking about my like film journey and my love for film, I would say that this movie definitely changed my perspective and outlook on filmmaking and storytelling as a whole. So this was a big like milestone in my movie watching. But there you go. Get a little bit closer for you guys to look at. It's a really nice release. I remember I paid way too much money for this, but it was well worth it. And you got like the regular Skinovo case in there. But yeah, I love this release. And it was like one of the first like non-regular edition Blu-rays I bought too, so that's really cool. Yeah, I love Perks of Being a Wallflower.
For me, I also picked out a premium edition of a movie as well, and that one is Moulin Rouge. This one is the Blue Fans exclusive, which you got me for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I was very happy to have that. Like I said earlier, this film really just was an experience for me and just opened my eyes to a different kind of cinema, and it was just in your face, and I absolutely love it, and I love having this edition in the collection as well. It's just a really nice one too.
Yeah.
Cool cover and just really fun to look at.
Let's see if we can get it a little bit closer here for you guys to see. But yeah, really, really nice release. And I think you have, let's see, there's a number on this somewhere, right?
Right on the back here, I believe.
Oh yeah, number 67 of 1,000. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That was awesome.
All right, next question. Do you ever feel a movie so awful you can't keep it in your collection?
No.
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 No. All right. Suggestions for starting a movie collection.
Okay. Easy note is to start with the movies that you would very much like to own or that you've been meaning to watch. That's always a great starting point.
Yeah, I'd say just start with what you love and kind of go from there. I mean, that's kind of how our collection started, where we started with movies that were really important to us or that we really wanted to watch over and over again. And then, you know, we found some of the boutique labels, and that led into me finding like different kinds of horror films that I would have otherwise not watched. I mean, just kind of don't stress about it. I mean, just buy what makes you happy and what you like and let it go from there. I mean, that's probably the best advice I could give.
And also, to go along with that, the best place to start is by looking in the bins at Walmart, Best Buy. Check Target for deals, or check Big Lots always has cheap Blu-rays.
Yeah, like a Dollar Tree.
Dollar General.
Used stores will be your friend, like FYE, local record stores, stuff like that. We built a lot of our collection that way.
Really, you can find so many movies now for well under $10, if not sometimes $5 or under even on a lot of them.
Yeah.
It is an easy and it's inexpensive, and it can get you going down the rabbit hole really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just say, like, buy what you love, find what you love, and find genres that you enjoy, and don't let other people dictate how you collect. If you just want to collect movies that you'll watch over and over again, awesome. If you want to buy tons of movies, every movie like us, cool. Like, just do what makes you happy and what works for you financially and things like that. But yeah, that's my advice. Favorite movies when it comes to production design?
I'll go back to Wes Anderson. His films are always so very precise. When you look at the set pieces and the locations and whatnot, everything is set up exactly how he wants it in a very specific way, and it is just breathtaking to look at just how everything is done, because the production design is so exact.
Yeah, he's a good one. First one that I thought of would be like La La Land. Love the production design in that, but kind of going off of that, you would also have to mention Jacques Demy's films, because very clearly Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and I'm probably saying that wrong, you guys know how I am, and Young Girls of Rochefort. I googled how to say that one. Like, those were very clearly big influences in La La Land's production design and overall production, actually. And I remember when we were watching Young Girls of Rochefort the other week, I was just like amazed and marveled by just the whole backdrop of every scene in that movie. It was just like Wes Anderson, so particular and so well thought out, and like even like the curtains in the buildings in the background, like were all like color coordinated. Like, I loved that. So yeah, those are two that come to mind. And then like in La La Land, when they're in like the planetarium, like, yeah, just so many cool scenes in there. And then I also thought of just some of my recent favorites that I love, like the design and aesthetic too, would be like Her. I love that look, the futuristic feel to it. And going off that futuristic feel, I would say Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, gorgeous film.
Beautiful production design. So many beautifully shot scenes. It looks amazing. Parasite would be another one.
Oh, that's true. The entire house set of that movie is just amazing.
Yeah, I love that one. And then one more, let's see, I wrote it down, would be Black Swan. I think a lot of Darren Aronofsky's films have a really particular look to them that I really enjoy. So.
And to reiterate yet another one of my favorite directors, Baz Luhrmann. He always has such a specific look to so many of them, and just everything in the set and is just astounding to look at, and it all has his flair too. Like, there's not always sometimes ton of historical accuracy, saying like Moulin Rouge or The Great Gatsby, but if it isn't amazing to look at all the same, it really is just a spectacle for sure. All right,
these next two I kind of combined into one. Someone asked what our 5 favorite Blu-rays or 4Ks are that we own. I think that was Justin, actually, Ryan 1988, shout out to him. And then I really like the way this person wrote this question. I should have written down who asked it, but if there was a fire and you could only save 5 releases from the collection, what would they be? So those are kind of the same question in so many words. So
well, first off, I would sure hope we save the cats before the movies, honestly.
Yes.
I think that'd be only fair.
Yeah. But once they're safe, we'll grab some.
Then we'll run back into the fire for these movies?
Yes.
Okay.
These are movies we would run into a fire for.
Okay.
I'm going to start with one that I have not talked about on the channel very much, if at all, but it's one of my absolute favorite films and one of my favorite releases, and that is Rudderless. I hardly ever hear anybody talk about this movie. This is an edition released by Plain Archive. I think it's only on DVD in the US. This stars Billy Crudup, and Anton Yelchin. And it's just a beautiful film, really emotional. And this is one of those rare movies where I watched it, and then when Andrew got home from work, I immediately made him watch it with me. But yeah, this one I really wanted to mention just because I don't talk about it enough. It's a beautiful film. And yeah, really beautiful release from Plain Archive. But yeah, Rudderless would definitely be one. Yeah, just because I remember just enjoying it so much and just being blown away by it. And the fact that nobody ever talks about it is a crime.
One for me is the 4K edition of Jaws. And I really like this release. Not only does the movie look fantastic on 4K, but this case too, with this lenticular box slip on it. It is just really fun looking at it, and it's just a wonderful piece in the collection that I absolutely love.
All right, my next pick is from Arrow. That's Deep Red. Love this movie. Don't talk about it enough. I talk about another one that I'm not going to mention yet a lot more than this one, but this is a great Dario Argento film, probably my favorite Giallo film, and it was one of my first introductions to Giallo. It's very close between this and Tenebrae, but overall I like this release more because it's just this beautiful hard box release from Arrow. And yeah, I love these hard box releases. Yeah, really happy to have this one in the collection, and yeah, I'd run into a fire for it because I love it.
Next one for me would be my 4K set of Lord of the Rings. This is the gift set version, which apparently went out of print or something very quickly, which I didn't realize.
Something weird.
Yeah, because it's super expensive now, but I was lucky to get this on release day, and it is just a wonderful edition, and it just fits so well with all my other Lord of the Rings stuff up there, and just absolutely love it.
Right, so I cheated a little bit with this one because it's 2 releases, but I think they complement each other well, so I'm going to count them as 1 release. And that's Dario Argento's Suspiria. I have both the 4K and the Steelbook from Synapse. I love both of these releases, and I absolutely love this film. It blew my mind the first time I saw it. We were actually lucky enough to see it in theaters the first time, so that was really cool. And yeah, really happy that Synapse released it on 4K. Also have to give credit to this beautiful Steelbook release as well. But yeah, I love Suspiria.
Then for me, it is the collector's edition of My Neighbor Totoro. This is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films, and this edition is just great. It's got a really cool booklet along with the soundtrack, which you can't get the soundtrack super easy here in America, so really happy to have this edition. Really nice.
And my next choice is a Denis Villeneuve film, and that is Arrival. This is the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook, 4K Steelbook. Andrew gave this to me as a gift, so really cool to have it. I already have it on 4K, that's why I haven't opened this edition, but yeah, it's just a gorgeous Steelbook. Very happy to have this, and I absolutely love this film. It's phenomenal.
Then I've got the collector's edition of Watchmen, which I really love this film, and so having this edition with the graphic novel as a companion is really great, and I think it's just a nice piece to have in the collection.
Yeah, you picked a film with Billy Crudup too.
Haha.
And my last pick for a release that I would run through fire for is the 15-disc deluxe edition Halloween box set from Scream Factory. Now, I picked this not only because I love the films and I love the box set. I mean, it's a fantastic and awesome box set, really hard to find these days, but I feel lucky to even have it because by the time we started collecting Scream Factories, at least, I mean, it was already impossible to find. And we had the 10-disc edition, but I saw this at a pawn shop, so I got really lucky and found this, and now it's even more hard to find than when I found it. So I feel really fortunate to have it, and it's a great centerpiece to our horror collection. And Halloween, although I haven't made mention of it as one of my favorite films, it definitely is one of my all-time favorite films, and it means a lot to me, and is probably the first horror film that I really loved, so having this box set is really awesome. And I'm sure you guys have all seen this before, but we'll show it again, why not? Scream Factory hit it out of the park with this one, just like they did with their recent Friday the 13th box set. And I really hope that they do a Nightmare on Elm Street box set at some point. That would be awesome.
Please.
And what's the last thing you'll run through fire for?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch all these films yet, but 1, this release is just phenomenal, and 2, I really do enjoy the films I have seen, so I would have to come back for the Godzilla Showa era release from Criterion.
Yeah, we can barely even fit it in the frame. It's so huge.
Yeah, but I mean, this release is just phenomenal. This book is so crazy. This is probably one of the more unique things that Criterion has ever done for their packaging.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it is just really cool, and I love Godzilla, so definitely would have to come back for these films.
Yeah, and I mean, it would set you up because it's what, like 15 movies?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There you go, 15 movies in one. Can't go wrong with that.
Definitely not.
All right, this next question I think is a little more geared towards me because I've been talking on the channel a bit lately about how I've been trying to watch more foreign films this year. And this person asked, what are some favorite international films you've seen so far this year? So, like I've mentioned before, Young Girls of Rochefort. I love that film. It was fantastic, and I mentioned in my last video that I don't think I hate musicals anymore. I think I just hate certain musicals. So yeah, and then A Separation, that was fantastic. I talked about that in my recent highlights video if you want to hear some more thoughts on that. Water Lilies, another one that I've mentioned a few times by Celine Sciamma. It's one of my all-time favorite films now. I even put it in my little letterbox favorites. Old Boy, that was fantastic.
That was a good one.
Really loved that, and I'd been putting it off for so long thinking that it wouldn't be as good as people said it was, but It was.
It was.
It was really good. And then the other day I just watched High and Low by Akira Kurosawa, and that was amazing. I need to watch even more of his films, but yeah, watched a lot of good stuff. Those are just the highlights. Definitely still need to watch more foreign films, though. I always need to up my game on that. But the next question is, do you guys use a collection app for your collection? And that's from our friend Cinefessions, so shout out to him. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
If we didn't, we would buy the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like when we first started collecting, I had it pretty well in my mind. I could be like, yes, we own that. No, we don't own that. Now it's like, I have no freaking clue what we own anymore.
Well, when you have like maybe say 200 titles, it's a lot easier to be able to probably say yes, that, no, that. But yeah, when you've got thousands all of a sudden, then it becomes a much more daunting task. And luckily we've only had it happen, I think 2, maybe 3 times.
Yes, I can think recently I bought Malcolm X again. I even ordered it online, so that took a lot of like thought to order that. I was just like, nope, I don't have that movie, and I ordered it. Yeah, we have it. We got it in the mail, and Andrew was like, I think we already own that. And I was like, no, we don't. And then I went in the collection, there it was. So yeah, that's the most recent one. So my mom has Malcolm X in her collection now. You're welcome, Mom. And then randomly this other movie, I can't even think of what it's called. It's this one with Diane Keaton and Michael Douglas. And So It Goes, I think is what it's called. That's randomly one of the other ones that I so badly needed in the collection that I bought it twice. Still haven't watched it. But yeah, it's actually only happened 2, maybe 3 times. So
yeah,
pretty lucky for the size of our collection.
But it definitely helps having something to catalog everything.
Yes.
One resource we use is blu-ray.com.
Yes.
That took a lot of effort on your part to get everything entered.
It still does.
Yeah.
In fact, like every other week or so, I sit down and I pull up my Instagram and I just look at all my haul photos and make sure that everything is on blu-ray.com. And then the other resource that we use, because we use 2, because sometimes, things aren't on one side or you don't have access to one of them, I think it's good to just like have 2 resources. And blu-ray.com is free and it's easy to use. This one cost, I think, like $15, really pretty cheap for what it is. It's called My Movies Pro 3, I do believe. There you go. Yeah, you can just scan in all of your movies and it keeps track of them that way. It's super easy because again, you just scan the barcode, so that's awesome. And I think you can access this even when you're not online because it does save like a local database.
But we have noticed if you buy really obscure stuff sometimes it's not in there quite yet.
Yes, that's true, but you can contribute to the database. So if you download their app for your computer, you can contribute and upload your own entries if you have something really obscure. But they have pretty much everything on here, like good as you can get. I mean, they even have some of like the Stinky Tuna releases entered. They have all kinds of stuff from region A and B. They have all countries. It's really awesome. So I would definitely recommend this app. We aren't paid by them or anything, but I would definitely recommend it. It was like $10 or $15. I know there's a few others out there that you can use, but that one hasn't let me down, and I like the interface. It's really simple, easy to use, so yeah.
And it really is helpful when you're out because all you have to do is type in a movie title and then right away you'll know if you have it in your collection or not. You use it constantly when we go out hunting.
Yeah, I mean, like when we're out Blu-ray hunting, one hand is my phone and I'm like searching blu-ray.com and see if it's on, if there's like a better edition or whatever, and then one hand is holding my like stack of Blu-rays we're buying. So yeah. Last question. This is from one of our subscribers that's been super awesome from the start. His name is Gerald. I want to say thank you to you for commenting on all of our videos and always having so much good feedback. We love it. And he asked for some indie horror recommendations, or in so many words, he said that he likes horror films, but his significant other doesn't, and so he has to watch a lot of them late at night, and he feels like he may have missed out on some. So this is my specialty. I'm very excited about this. I have a whole stack to go through, so I'll try to be brief on them. The first one is called Bliss. This is a Eureka release from the UK. It is on Blu-ray in the US. I really like this cover. But this is from a director named Joe Bagos. He's done a few in the last few years. But if you like really like hypnotic, synth-heavy soundtrack type films that are just like gritty and dark, I think you'll really like this one. It's just a really cool vampire movie. I loved it. It reminded me a lot of the stuff from like 70s and 80s, and it came out just like a year or two ago. So yeah, really good one, Bliss, and that's available I think from Dark Sky in the US, so you can pick it up that way. He mentioned that he likes A24 horror, which I'm obviously not mentioning like The Witch or Hereditary or Midsommar because those are obvious, but all amazing. But this is kind of an underrated A24 horror film, and that's The Monster. This stars Zoe Kazan, one of our favorites. Yeah, this is just a really good, like, kind of low budget creature feature. Pretty entertaining one. And then I have to mention the remake of Suspiria. This is not an A24 film, but I'm kind of surprised it isn't. In fact, I had to just check the spine to remember. It definitely would fit in with their catalog. It's a very disturbing, dark take on Suspiria, which Suspiria is already a pretty dark tale, but this one might even take it a little darker. And this is a remake done right because it takes the basic concept and this kind of story idea that Argento had and puts a whole new spin on it, and it makes it really different and interesting. So definitely check it out. And it has a great soundtrack by Tom York. So yeah, great film there. He just has to sit back and listen to this. Next one, this is a Korean film. This is The Wailing. There's a lot of really great horror films out of like Korea and Japan, but this is one that has just been on my mind ever since I saw it. It's like 3 hours long, but it's well worth the ride. It's one of the best horror films I've ever seen. Like very psychological, very deep, but really interesting. And then this one, this got quite a bit of attention the last few years. It's kind of a Lovecraftian type movie. It has a lot of practical effects, which is really cool, and that's The Void. I know a lot of people have mentioned this, but again, it's just a cool like Lovecraftian modern take. And yeah, again, those special effects were great because they're all very practical. So yeah, The Void is a great one. Then these next three are actually by the same director, probably one of my favorite directors right now, and he's actually Anthony Perkins' son, Osgood Perkins. This one is from A24, and that's The Black Coat's Daughter. This one blew me away when I saw it. I couldn't believe how good it was. I think it went over your head a little bit.
Yeah, it did a little.
It is a little confusing, but I think on future watches you would understand it a little bit more, or maybe you would just get it the first time like I did. But yeah, this is a really good, trippy, psychological horror film. And then he also made a movie for Netflix called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. We designed a cover for this one. But this is a really good one, very atmospheric, like Black Coat's Daughter. Almost as good as that one, but pretty close. So you can watch that one on Netflix. And then this one wasn't very well received, probably because it was kind of marketed as a blockbuster horror film, which it is not at all. It's definitely in the same vein as his last two films. That's Gretel and Hansel. I really liked it because
I did too.
Yeah, because I had seen his other two films, and so I kind of knew what I was in for a little bit. But it's definitely more of like an art house, slow horror film, and I don't think normal, wide audiences would appreciate it, so.
Yeah, we're all too used to the most horror stuff coming to theaters is pretty dumbed down and lots of jump scares, whereas this is, like you said, very art house. Yeah. It's very atmospheric and slow and whatnot, but it is really good though. It was really fun to watch, honestly. It was an interesting take on the classic fairy tale.
Yeah, and the cinematography in this is really, really good. So yeah, Gretel and Hansel, underrated one. And this is another one that was marketed all wrong because they made it look like it was going to be this like really intense creature feature, which it's not at all. And that's It Comes at Night. This is marketed so poorly because people came away from it going, that was not the movie that the trailer showed, which I agree with.
Yeah,
this is definitely, sorry, go ahead.
I was one of those people too. I came away from it going, that doesn't seem at all like what I was told it would be.
Yeah, I think my parents felt the same way, but this is a very psychological film, which I guess a lot of these are. That's kind of what I gravitate towards, but it's much more of a psychological thriller horror film than it is a creature feature. It's not a creature feature at all. It kind of takes a look at what people would do in an apocalyptic type situation and how far people will go to protect their family. So yeah, really interesting one. This one's kind of an obvious choice, but I couldn't not talk about this movie. I mean, one of my all-time favorite horror films, and that's It Follows by David Robert Mitchell. This just checks all the marks for me. It's very slow, but very interesting and filled with dread and terror. And the soundtrack is amazing. It's like an 80s synth score, just so awesome. I know people pretty much love or hate this movie, but I love it. Kind of hard to show the lenticular there, but this is a release from the Blue collection. I think this is Kimchi DVD, but obviously you can get it on just regular old Blu-ray. Great horror film.
Really good.
And then this is a release from Scream Factory, and that's The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This one really surprised me. It kind of came out of nowhere. Knew nothing about it, just gave it a watch and ended up really enjoying this. It has Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox. But this is definitely a movie that got under my skin.
No, it's a lot creepier than you would
out.
expect. I did not expect to be as scared of this movie as I was.
Yeah, this really scared both of us. So yeah, this is a really good one. And then the last three are actually Code Red releases. So I don't know how readily available they are, but they're great older horror films because I obviously like more than just 2010s and on horror. This one is called Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. This came out in 1982. Just a really cool low budget slasher psychological thriller type with some surprisingly really good performances. It sounds like it's going to be like ridiculous looking at that title, but it was surprisingly really, really good. And then this next one is called Soul Survivor. The best way I think I could describe this movie is like a mix between It Follows and Final Destination. And yeah, on the back it says before there was Final Destination, there was Soul Survivor. So that's not that original of a thought, I guess. But yeah, this is a really good one. It's been on my mind ever since I saw it. And then kind of in the same vein as like Suspiria, this is a really cool atmospheric horror film, and that's Messiah of Evil. I know in like the cult horror community, this one's talked about a lot, and for good reason, because this one is really, really good. So I don't know how easy these are to pick up, but if you can find them, definitely do so because they're very good. So sorry for that horror tangent, but you know, I love myself some indie and underrated horror films. So thank you for that question, Gerald. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that sent us questions. We'll definitely be doing another one of these in the future, maybe in a live stream. I'm not sure. Live stream kind of gives me anxiety, but maybe. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sending us questions. It's been a lot of fun to sit down and think of these answers. And before we go, as promised, we're going to introduce our giveaway. So we've got a few titles here that we're giving away. None of these are brand new, but they're from our collection, so they're in great condition. And the way it's going to work is just comment down below with your favorite film of all time, as well as your favorite director, because I always love hearing this from our subscribers. And then tell us 2 of the movies that you guys would like to win. And then whoever wins the giveaway will get those 2 movies. So we'll go ahead and show you what we have. The first thing is the Blue Underground release of Daughters of Darkness. And then we have another Blue Underground, and that's Maniac, a great classic horror film. Definitely worth checking out if you guys have never seen it or want to add it to your collection. And we got a couple of more common movies here. We got Upgrade, this has a slipcover and everything. Awesome movie as well. And then we have Parasite, which if for some reason you guys haven't seen Parasite, you absolutely should pick this one because it's an amazing film. And then we also have the complete first season of Stranger Things. This is the Target exclusive VHS box set, if you guys just want to own this in your physical collection. And then we have a TV show here, and that is Chernobyl with the slipcover. And the last thing is actually a Criterion, which I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people pick this one, but that is the Police Story 1 and 2 box set with Jackie Chan. So again, just take a look at what we have here. Comment down below with your favorite director and your favorite film of all time, and then the 2 films that you would like to win of these choices. And make sure to check back in about a week or so when we will be doing an announcement video about who wins the giveaway. And unfortunately, this is only open to our US subscribers. Right now it's really expensive to ship outside of the US, so we do apologize for that, but in the future hopefully we can incorporate a giveaway that will include all of our worldwide subscribers. But again, thank you guys so much for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. It's so awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
So yeah, keep an eye out for future videos. Obviously, we've been uploading very regularly lately. And if you're new to our channel, welcome. And please consider subscribing. We talk all things physical media, Blu-rays, and movies here at Movie Buff Pains. So
yeah. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
See ya.